This episode of Dana Being Dana is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Vic Companies, LLC. Your world is our concern.
Hello, and welcome to Dana Being Dana. I am your host, Dana Michelle, and I am thrilled you're with us. My show is about all different aspects of the human connection, things that bring us together, and living life intentionally. And there is nothing that brings us together more than love. For some, finding and keeping love has been easy. For others, not so much. I am passionate about you finding the love that was meant for you. Today, we're talking about love, dating, and relationships. And I want to start with friends of mine who are experts in the field, love and lifestyle coaches, and a marriage counselor. Hello to my good friends, Quincy, Jillian, and Jan, identical twins.
Yeah.
So Quincy, you're a marriage counselor.
Yeah, I do a lot of marriage counseling. I did it back in the past, too, for about 4 years.
And Jillian and Jan, you both are lifestyle coaches.
Yes, focusing on relationships.
Fantastic. Well, I thank you guys all for being here with us. They often say that the mindset is the first thing that you need to work on when it comes to finding the love you want. Do you agree with that? What would you say to that?
Yes, because in order to really get a positive outcome, you really need to have a positive mindset. Otherwise, you might tend to displace some of your own fears or personal issues onto that relationship connection, and it's going to be very hard for it to grow. So your mindset is going to determine your success in your relationships, and so it's really important to make sure you're coming from a place of positivity.
How are people hindered from finding the love that they want?
A lot of clients have checklists, and if you lead with checklists or expectations, it's going to lead you to failure. So we need to be open to love and open to receiving what it is that we truly want. Because if we lead with a list, then we might say this person needs to make 6 figures. This person might need to have a 6-pack. Whatever those traits that you might want in a person, that's holding you back from having the love that you truly want. Because what a healthy relationship needs is a relationship values that they can support each other on.
I work with a lot of men, and I would say what I see the most is just a pure lack of confidence, the messages that they tell themselves about themselves. I'm not worthy of this girl. I don't have what this girl wants. This girl probably already has a boyfriend, and I'm not even going to be considered for this. So not being able to take the first step with confidence, with knowing that no matter what happens, I am still okay in this, and her loss.
I want to talk about heartbreak, because we talked about that before. And when people experience heartbreak, how do you advise them on healing so that they can be ready for their next and hopefully most successful relationship?
The most important thing you can do when you experience a heartbreak is to focus on yourself. Turn that pain into productivity, and whether it's pursuing a new passion, pursuing a new career, building a new business, whatever it is, take that pain that you're going through and put self-love and self-care into yourself and rebuild what it is that you need to do to move forward in your life.
I think that's great, turning your pain into productivity. Hopefully everybody out there can be productive. How do you encourage people to be their authentic selves? Because a lot of coaches and therapists talk about being your authentic self, and that's the way you can attract the right partner for you. So how do you encourage people to do that?
To really identify their relationship values and to operate from those on a day-to-day basis, because whenever you're in tuned and in line with who you are as an individual, it's much easier to attract someone in the real world and enter your life because you're operating from those values. So I think understanding your value system gives you clarity and purpose in terms of how to operate on a day-to-day basis.
I think
difficult, if not impossible, to be authentic if you don't know who you are to begin with.
That part.
Yeah, huge piece. And I think people are always surprised to figure out that they don't know parts of them and how those parts that they didn't know impacted the last relationship that they were in. And if we can't start there, then we're probably going to just keep making the same mistake over and over again.
How do you encourage people to get out of their comfort zone? Because oftentimes dating is uncomfortable, and oftentimes people are reluctant to do things that are out of their comfort zone. So how do you encourage people? What advice do you give them?
I usually tell people dating is like an adventure or going on a vacation. Like, there's always gonna be things that come up along the way, but you just gotta roll with the punches and see where it goes. And you can't control anything. So you just gotta, like I said, roll with the punches and see where it goes.
See where it goes. What about online dating? I think a lot of people now are dating from their couch. They're swiping at home. So what advice do you have? I think there's definitely pitfalls to navigating the online dating world.
The benefit of it is you don't have to go out every night in order to meet somebody. It actually allows you to focus on your personal goals while still being able to pursue your relationship goals. So I think it's a way. Also, a lot of times people have more introvert type personalities, so it allows them to still be actively pursuing and trying to find individuals versus having to put themselves really far out there and going outside their comfort zone.
Also allows you to cut right to the chase. So I'm looking for someone in their 30s who has no more than one child, who lives here. This is the group that I want to work from. Because when I go out to a bar, I don't know anything about anybody.
Yeah.
The one thing I do tell people is you do have to be safe, especially nowadays where online dating and anything online can be so easily manipulated. So definitely have to be safe, but great tool to use. If it's used well, great.
Do you recommend that people put it all out there or leave a little mystery to the actual dating experience?
When it comes to being a woman on the dating online platforms, so we work with a lot of entrepreneurial women, we always recommend leave a little mystery or you might be history. Because if you say
that again,
leave a little mystery or you might be history.
Yes.
So when it comes to like first dates or even your online dating profile, if you think of every human you meet as like a book, you only want to let them know what the first chapter is like in order to keep that man intrigued and coming back to you. If you tell the whole entire book on the first date or even on your online profile, if you're writing books out there, like more than likely you're not going to leave him intrigued and wanting a second date with you.
Or you can also set up a stage for someone to manipulate you.
Yes.
Because they find all of your pressure points. They find all the things that make you tick. They find the things that you're really, really searching for. A little mystery, or you'll be history. Let's talk about some of these women who you're saying are a lot of your clients. Do you think just women in general put their careers into their relationships, into their dating relationships, and how does that work out for them?
I think so. As women, we have masculine and we have feminine energy, and so knowing when to use it is really important. And so in your career life, you're going to be more drawn to use your masculine energy because you're very driven, you're outgoing, you're trying to build yourself up. But when it comes to that romantic relationship, you're going to want to turn off the masculine energy and use that feminine energy and be very present and draw him in naturally to you. Don't chase a man.
Please don't chase us. No, you can chase us. That's totally fine. No.
Well, let's talk about this masculine energy. Speaking of masculine energy, do you feel that masculinity in and of itself is dying when it comes to dating and relationships?
I don't think it's dying. I think it's evolving. I think men nowadays are just really learning how to talk to women again, given the factors that are now different than what they were maybe 40 years ago. 40 years ago, hard for a woman to get a credit card. Women didn't drive as much as men did at that time. Women didn't own houses, weren't going up the career ladder like men were. And now that is the case. And now men can look at a woman at a bar and could easily decipher, you know what, this woman is ahead of me on just about everything. What am I to say to her? Do I have what it takes to get a woman like this, given the factors that exist today? And I think men right now really struggling with that question. Right, and so if you've got women who have a little bit more masculinity and more dominant approaches when it comes to dating, I know what I want, I'm gonna ask him out, I'm gonna take these approaches. You don't think that men sometimes kind of fall back and could be a little lazy when it comes to dating because there's women who are flocking to them, calling, asking them out, taking them out, treating them? I don't know these women.
When it comes to dating, I definitely think, so I understand where Quincy's coming from in terms of the masculinity, but I also think a confident man has no problem going up to a woman. So I think it's a little bit more of a personal issue when a man fears going up to a very successful woman. So I think it's not, for every woman. But I do think with online dating, people are not valuing relationships like they used to. And so men are not being masculine in terms of pursuing women by planning dates and whatnot because they think there's a plethora of options available. And so that's where I think the masculinity is dying because men should be the ones kind of pursuing the woman in the beginning phases of dating.
Quincy, I want to ask you a question about compatibility versus chemistry. Can you explain the difference?
I think you need both. I think you need both really to be successful in a relationship. I think you can be compatible when I look at your profile on a sheet of paper and I look at mine. Oh, wow, we both make six figures. We both went to the same similar schools. Seems like we both like to talk about the same things, have similar interests.
Right.
And then we get together and it's a disaster. It is an utter disaster. And then the reverse of that is I meet this person who maybe I don't really have that much in common with at all. But for whatever reason, my body responds when I'm around this person. My mind connects with this person easily, naturally. I don't really have to do much. But we have nothing in common at all. So there's a spark there, and sometimes that spark can get us from point A to point B.
And that's the chemistry.
That's the chemistry piece. And I think chemistry is exciting, it's adventurous. There's a sexual component, I think, that deals with chemistry. But in order to really, I think, be successful, I think you need a combination of both.
A combination of both. Do you ladies agree?
Yeah, I think for true love, you really need both. Otherwise, if you're focusing on just the chemistry, you're going to end up in that lust phase and never really build that foundation that's going to support the relationship long term.
Yep.
Well said.
You talked about fear earlier and fear in relationships. Can fear and love coexist in healthy relationships?
If you're operating from a place of fear, more than likely it's going to be very hard to achieve your relationship goals and love goals. Fear and love cannot coexist in the same place. If we operate from fear, we're holding ourselves back from being vulnerable, being genuine, and allowing that connection to really develop and deepen.
And so I guess fear of who you are and falling in love and being vulnerable, but also maybe fear of not being worthy of the person that you're with. They are too, insert, beautiful, rich, important, whatever, and maybe not feeling worthy. And so it breeds toxic energy.
Well, we always sometimes tend to behave differently if we're operating from a state of fear versus operate from a state of love. So sometimes we might displace something that's uncomfortable if we have a fear of abandonment onto that connection, and then the other partner is very confused as to why this person's acting this way.
Yep. Yeah. Why are boundaries important in relationships?
Boundaries are the essential to having a healthy relationship.
Really? How so?
Yes, because boundaries help you work through your differences as a couple to help you find a mutual ground that you both can thrive from. So not when we're setting a boundary, we're actually coming from a place of value and we're asking our partner to work with us, versus I think a lot of people confuse this with ultimatums, which is telling someone either you need to do this or I'm done. Boundaries are going to elevate and grow your relationship to the next level.
How important is communication when it comes to relationships?
Critical. Not being a good communicator, your relationship is probably bound to fail.
Yeah.
And I see that happen all the time
So important.
in practice, not just with relationships, but within all things of life. Not being able to communicate what you really need or what you're trying to say to someone, bound to fail.
I think a lot of reason why people don't communicate is they just don't have the proper tools on how to effectively communicate from a place of assertiveness in order to get their message heard, but also receive the answer that they need in order to support them.
Communication is key. Well, this has been a great discussion. You guys are such great experts in your field, and I love how much you are helping other people. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk to some other people about relationships and love in these dating streets. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In Naperville, we know that community counts. In fact, it's in our name. As Naperville Community Television, we have the privilege of showcasing what makes this award-winning city a wonderful place to raise a family, to make a living, and to enjoy life's journey. That's why it's our mission to capture on camera those special moments that connect us. Those stories that impact our lives, stories you won't see anywhere else. So watch Naperville Community Television on air, online, and on social media.
Welcome back to Dana Being Dana. We are talking about love, relationships, and dating. We've just heard from experts on how to navigate these love and relationship streets, and now I have more friends joining me to tell us what it's like out there and what advice they have for you and I in this dating world. So I'm here with my friends Sissy, Shag, and Amy. How are y'all doing?
Doing
Great. Yes. So before we get into these dating streets, let's first talk about lessons learned. What have you learned from your last committed relationship?
I've just learned to be totally honest.
Your authentic self?
Yes. I have to absolutely let them know who I am and let them know things that I just don't like.
Like what?
Be consistent with it. Well, you know how we sort of make accommodations for people, because you're sort of in love with that relationship and you sort of lose yourself in that.
Okay, being honest.
For myself, I think it's I'm responsible for my own happiness. I think in the past it may have been a case where I was looking for that individual to bring some joy to me, but moving forward, my way of going about my business now is I'm responsible for my happiness, and that person just kind of contributes to that already existing happiness.
Yeah, I agree with that. I learned that it's okay to choose my own happiness over my relationship and to really put that first. I learned I can't be right 100% of the time.
Really?
So doesn't quite work. Compromise is important. And I also learned that it's really important to take time to be together and to date each other and continue to date each other. Make time for that.
Looking back from your younger years, how has what you look for in a relationship now changed?
It's changed tremendously.
Tell me more.
I feel like when I was younger, I used to look for someone that really loved me and I also had fun with. And that sounds really simple, but I was more concerned, do they love me? Do they want to be with me? And now I'm more concerned, do I love them? Yeah. Do I want to be with them? Are they somebody that genuinely brings me joy and I respect? Do I like their core being as a person?
Because it's a two-way street.
It is a two-way street.
It's a two-way street,
right.
And a lot of times I think people focus on what they want and not always, am I right for the other person as well? What else?
I think for me, I looked at relationships as it was kind of like the same way when you were growing up and you were graduating from high school and you're like, these are the colleges I wanted to attend. It's the same thing I want to do with my relationship. 5'5", slim.
5'5".
Hey, I want to be taller.
I can dig it. Yeah.
So I had all these requirements, and now it's the most basic thing. I just want the relationship to be easy.
Easy. Peace.
End of story.
Well, I guess my answer is just piggyback on both those answers because I'm looking for somebody that fits me. I've tried that square peg in the round hole, and it just didn't work.
It doesn't work.
No matter how you force it. Yeah. So, I'm looking for someone that's going to accept me for who I am because that's the only person I know how to be.
Yeah.
And somebody that I can really accept who they are. I've got to take their good with their bad.
Right. Is there any fun to falling in love? Again and again.
Of course.
Talk about that, Amy. You're in a relationship.
I am, yes. It's a lot of fun. It gives you hope again, and hope for the future. I think after going through a divorce or your previous relationship, you feel like your future is a little unknown and it's bleak and you're not really sure what that looks like. And when you fall in love again, the possibilities seem endless, and it's exciting.
Was it exciting when you first met your new man?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Good chemistry.
Great chemistry.
Good chemistry.
Chemistry is so important.
I was going to say,
Yes.
how important is chemistry when it comes to relationships?
I think for me, chemistry is everything. I look at relationships as it's easy to find certain people that check off certain things that you want in a mate or a partner, but that chemistry you can't have anything without that chemistry in my book.
And that's absolutely true. I mean, I hate to be metaphoric, but it's just like a dress. It may look different on you than it does on me, and just because it looks good in the store, it may not
Doesn't
fit
always
me.
fit.
Right.
It's like those heels.
Yes.
The heels that look great on the shelf, but that hurt.
Yes.
And it doesn't take a long time for it to
Yes.
start hurting, right?
right.
Sometimes you can
You don't
have
notice
a
it
relationship. What were you saying?
You don't notice it first.
You don't notice it first, right? But it looks
No.
good in the beginning.
No, sometimes you tolerate it.
True.
And that's the problem.
True.
We tolerate things that we really shouldn't.
That part.
So yes, I have to make sure I absolutely love it in the store before I take it home.
And then it's got to fit.
Right.
And then it's got to fit. Speaking of fit, how important is compatibility when it comes to relationships? We've talked about chemistry, and I think that's some of that energy that I also think is rare. You don't have chemistry with everybody. But how important is compatibility in and of itself or in relation to chemistry?
I think compatibility, it's an interesting dynamic because you can get along, you can have fun together, but I'm OCD, and that could be annoying to somebody that is not. So those are some of the things that sometimes early on in the relationship you may not pick up on, but as the relationship deepens and you spend more time together, then these little things become annoyance. And
Like military corners on the bed.
Hey, can't help it. I love it.
I think compatibility is important because when you're compatible, you're not trying to change the other person or make them fit into whatever you're looking for. So it should be natural. It should just come easy. So liking the same things, having the same belief system, those are all important.
They're all important. So you guys are experts in these dating streets, so let's give some advice to the people who are tuning in. Let's start with the ladies. What's one thing that you think ladies are out here doing wrong when it comes to dating? You got friends who just can't seem to find a man,
They're
keep a man.
overthinking everything.
Overthinking.
Yes,
Yep.
reading way too much into text messages. One-word text messages.
Right. Or what about making their fantasy their reality? Right? Thinking like, well, he's overanalyzing those text messages and thinking, well, maybe he's just busy, right? When he's really just not into you.
Right.
So that's one thing. What else? Shag,
Yeah.
What are these ladies out here doing wrong? Besides making their bed wrong.
Well, besides making their bed wrong, I think ladies are they're a little bit more aggressive.
We talked about that in the last segment.
I think initially when they meet, and everybody's excited about one another, but then sometimes they want to jump too far ahead too quickly and not allow the relationship to develop. They want to take it from A and go all the way to Z without doing the work with the other letters, right? So I think that is a struggle that I have found.
As a man, do you like to drive the cadence of your relationship?
Definitely, I'm a man.
I'm a man.
What I do.
Yes. Tell them. So I hope you ladies are watching. What else can ladies do better in these streets?
Well, actually, just be your real self.
Stop trying to pretend or fit a mold.
Right. And, like he was saying, of course, you have to savor the courtship. Savor it. enjoy
the process.
Yes.
The fun of falling in love. It can be fun. It can be fun.
You know, don't rush it.
Okay. So what about the men? Let's flip it. What advice can we give the men out here?
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
Love
What do you mean?
questions.
Women love questions?
Yes. Feel free to be engaged in conversation and seem interested in what we're talking about.
Be interested. That's helpful.
But just that we don't want to go out to dinner and hear about you for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, we would
Right.
love for you to ask us questions
Be
and
interested
be able
in
to
us.
talk about us a little bit.
Okay. What else? What do you see the fellas out here not doing right?
I think
Help 'em, Shay.
I think guys should be true to themselves, right, and be comfortable with where you are in life, and be honest about it. I think those things are irreplaceable in the beginning of establishing a relationship. So.
Anything for the men?
Yes.
Number one.
Yes. Absolutely. Be true to us. You know, let us know that this is not what you want.
Yeah.
You know, and it's okay that, you know, you don't like dark chocolate. I mean, it's an acquired taste. I mean,
But I think that is so true, because I think one thing that I think men are afraid of is hurting someone's feelings and being honest. And so a lot of times they're not honest with a breakup, or that I'm just not interested. But do you believe this statement, that it's better to cut ties early so people can heal and move on and find relationships that are meant for them, or to kind of lead people on and drag things out by not really being honest because you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings in the immediate future?
it's absolutely better to be honest and be upfront. I mean, granted, we are what we call the fairer sex, but we're stronger than what you think we are.
True.
So, you know, just let us know.
True. And I think men could be more honest, and perhaps women could be better listeners at accepting that honesty. Because I think sometimes when people want to make their fantasy their reality, they seem to not take no for an answer, right? If he's ghosting you, he doesn't want to talk. So let him ghost you and keep it moving. Don't try to make up excuses. Well, he's so busy, or he's got this other thing going on, or he's at work. And people, I always say that interested people act interested.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important. Any other advice out here for these people wanting to hear about love and relationships and live their best life?
I think both men and women, need to stop looking for the perfect
not always
significant other. No one is perfect. We're going to be OCD. We're going to have, our little quirks to us, and that's okay. And that's what can frustrate us in a relationship, and that's what can make us laugh at the same time. And if you are always focusing on what they could be doing better, or the one thing you don't like about their personality, you're never gonna find someone.
Yeah. Do you think that people are often too afraid to take a risk and jump in? Like, do people go on a lot of first dates and it's like, just like you said, it's not perfect, I'm gonna pivot and go this way. And you find a lot of people who stay single, they meet a lot of people, but they're not necessarily trying relationships. Is it because of options? Is it because they're afraid? Is it fear? What do you think?
I think it probably varies for multiple individuals. I think for myself, I would look at like, well, that was okay. I think it could have been better, right? And maybe it warrants a second date. Maybe it warrants a third date. I don't know. But sometimes I go with my gut and say, hey, I don't know if that went too well.
Yeah.
And I keep on moving.
Keep it moving.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for this fun discussion about love and relationships. Finding love can be scary, but I believe it's worth it, because falling in love is the best feeling in the world. If you have the love you desire, cherish it and consider yourself very lucky. If not, I encourage you to fall in love as many times as it takes. I am very passionate about finding love and keeping love and spreading love, because love is what heals in this world, and love is more of what we need. I do not promise to be an expert, nor do I have all the answers. I'm just Dana, being Dana. See you next time.